Hello audience, this is 420 News. I'm Jared Douglas and this is Matthew Hawkins.
Hello audience. Today we will be discussing the Vietnam War and past events.
This just in, as many Americans are going off to Vietnam War, many are trying to avoid it. Most soldiers called into the war were called under the Selective Service system. This system has been used since World War II. Americans between the age 18 and 26 were to be screened for medical reasons and then called into military service. However, a lot of Americans have been trying to find ways around this draft, calling it a manipulable draft. Some examples are doctors getting medical exemptions, college deferment, or changing residencies to areas with lenient drafting boards. Another topic for today is African Americans in Vietnam. Although African troops have been serving in Vietnam in disproportionate numbers in combat roles, with 20% of African Americans accounting for combat deaths despite only 10% of the U.S. population. Martin Luther King Jr. lashed out against what he called cruel irony due to African Americans dying for a country treating them as a second citizen. Racial tensions in platoons sometimes led to hostility, which brought down troop morale. And my last topic for today is women joining the ranks. Although women are not allowed to serve in combat, 10,000 women serve in Vietnam as military nurses. Services like the American Red Cross and the United Services Organization delivered hospitality and entertainment to the troops. And now to you, Matthew.
Thank you, Jared.
Yes.
Throughout the country, students are becoming more active socially and politically. Some are participating in the civil rights struggle. Others are pursuing public service. America is becoming more involved in the war in Vietnam. College students across the country are becoming a powerful and vocal group of protesters. There is a movement spreading across the United States called the New Left, which is a growing movement of the 60s. This movement is new in relation to the old left of the 1930s, which had generally tried to move towards nationalism and socialism, in some cases communism. While the New Left movement does not preach socialism, its followers demand sweeping changes in America. Another group on the rise is the Students for a Democratic Society, founded by Tom Hayden and Al Haber. This group states that corporations and large government institutions have taken over America. The SDS has called for a restoration of participatory democracy and greater individual freedom. Another movement on the rise is the freedom of speech movement. It's taking over the University of California at Berkeley by storm. The movement is growing out of a clash between students and administrators over free speech on campus. Originally led by Mario Savio, a philosophy student, the freedom of speech movement focuses its criticism on what is called the American machine, which is the nation's faceless and powerful business and government institution.
And now broadcasting to our interviewer Amir, interviewing young protestants on the Vietnam War and other things.
Thank you, Jared. And today I'm here with SDS leader Keela Smith, and I will be asking her some questions about why she is protesting the war.
Well, the conflict in Vietnam is basically a civil war, and the U.S. military has no business there.
Clearly, many of the youth find the war disturbing and unnecessary. Some say that the oppressive South Vietnamese regime is no better than the communist regime it's already fighting.
Thank you. That is all we have for today.